All right, so I am at Big Ten Network Studios in Chicago because I was in Chicago to host the live tailgate on CFB on Fox with my buddy Jeff Schwartz, Deshaun Kaiser, and Chris Orr, where we talked a bunch about this game, and none of us thought it would go this way. Notre Dame stomped a mud hole in Wisconsin and walked it dry 41-13 at Soldier Field to improve to 4-0 with the most impressive win of the entire weekend. Indy and Whiskey hadn't played against each other since the Civil Rights Act was signed into law in 1964, and they hadn't played against each other at Soldier Field since 1929, the year the Black Tuesday stock market crash happened. And it was a historic win for Indy coach Brian Kelly, who passed Knute Rockne for most wins by an Indy coach ever with 106. That means Kelly holds the record for most wins and most losses in Indy history. Now, after Jack Cohen was knocked out of the game in the third quarter with quarterback Tyler Buckner out injured, Drew Pine came in to steady and lead an Indy offense that was held in check for most of the game. So it was the Indy defense that starred. Wisconsin turned the ball over more times than Notre Dame rushed for yards. Notre Dame ran the ball 32 times against Wisconsin for 3 yards. 3. This also checks out. Coming into the game in Chicago, Wisconsin had allowed just 33 rush yards a game. Dating back to Paul Chryst's first year as Wisconsin head coach, the Badgers had allowed an average of just 108 rush yards per game. Among Power 5 programs, that average is second only to Alabama, who allows a paltry 106.2 a game. Now, Wisconsin quarterback Graham Mertz threw 4 interceptions, giving him 6 in 3 games. We're seeing that 3 number a lot. As a true freshman, his potential in Madison was compared to that of Badger great Russell Wilson. And now, it's a yikes from me, dog. And those 4 interceptions Mertz threw, none of them were intercepted by that friggin' pterodactyl, also known as Kyle Hamilton. Drew White had a pick. Jack Kaiser had a pick. Cam Hart had 2. And that is also a part of a forced fumble, apart from a forced fumble. And I mean, that's 5 turnovers. It's 5 turnovers, and there are only 4 quarters football. Goodness me. Just after the start of the fourth quarter and Indy trailing 13-10, the game changed forever with a 96-yard kick return for touchdown by running back Chris Tyree. It was mightier than any blow Liston ever took from Ali. That return began an onslaught of Irishmen over the Badgers like, damn. Notre Dame scored 31 unanswered points, 14 minutes football, and the 41 points given up by the Badgers are the most an opponent has scored since 2014 Ohio State dropped 59 on their head. A special shout out to all of my beautiful Wisconsin Badger friends. Finally, with the win against Wisconsin, the Fighting Irish remain undefeated at Soldier Field with an overall record of 11-0-2. They also have a perfect record in the Shamrock Series of 10-0. So reportedly, it's BYU that's going to be next for them. And, you know, seeing as it's the ND Shamrock Series, perhaps the Cougars might think about getting that game off their schedule. Just a thought. So is this the best win of the season for any team in college football? No, son. No. That still belongs to Oregon. They walked into the shoe in front of a sellout crowd without the best player in college football in Kayvon Thibodeau and one of the best defenders on their team in Justin Flo, and soundly beat an Ohio State team that is still expected to win the Big Ten championship and perhaps make the college football playoff because, baby, Clemsoning is back. But Indy's win against Wisconsin today was one of the best wins of the year for sure. It's a push with Penn State's win against Wisconsin because, at the time, Wisconsin hadn't lost. Yes, I know, it was their first game of the season, and the Nittany Lions were on the road. And even though the Badgers were playing the visitor, it's called the Shamrock Series for a reason, I saw a majority of Wisconsin Red in Chicago while hosting CFB on Fox's live tailgate today. A special thank you to all of you who came through. I was rocking the Wakanda for you. I've always thought of Chi-Town, though, as an ND town, Subway alumni and all that. In the face of one of the best run defenses of the last half decade, Indy couldn't move the ball on the ground, shocker, but got explosive plays through the air. The third string quarterback came off the bench to lead them to a win. And you know how much I truly love a scoring defense. What this game does for us, though, is prove after a shaky win against a bad Florida State team I thought was good and a dramatic comeback win at home against the Toledo team they were supposed to overpower, that Indy is an absolute threat to return to the playoff once again. The issue facing Brian Kelly's program, though, is leaving no doubt that they are one. In years when Clemson was thought to have the weakest resume among undefeated Power 5 teams, aching for a playoff invitation, they committed to burying opponents in October, November, and December. They did that not to prove a point to us, but to themselves, so that when they got to the playoff, they knew without a doubt that they were not just one of the 4 best teams in the country, but the best team in the entire country. And to that, I want to throw it to my man's Rocket Ismail.
They have to believe when they're playing the elite of the elite that they have what it takes. Like, at the end of the day, the belief that you have is necessary to be able to take it to the next level. And you have to have what Coach Stoops had. I remember when he was at Oklahoma and Alabama was making a whole lot of noise in college football, and everybody was intimidated. Everybody was like, the haunted Alabama Crimson Tide can't be beat. And I remember watching the news report, and Coach Stoops was like, yeah, whatever. Like, literally, he's something to that. I'm paraphrasing, but essentially it was with whatever. He believed that he had everything it took to meet the mightiest teams in the land and to be able to overcome. And that, at the end of the day, that has to be a part of your foundation. If you don't have that, if you don't have that belief, regardless of who you play, when it comes time to meet the giants in the land, you're not going to be able to overcome it.
My man, Rahib Ramirian Ismail, is right. Indeed needs an attitude adjustment. Like, we have a failure here to communicate. Hey, kinfolk, I appreciate you for watching. Subscribe here and ring the bell so you don't miss the latest upload to the channel. Also, be sure to watch more videos here, like FS1 Studio shows and the best from Fox Sports and Fox Sports Digital.